Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Talkback for a Fractured Sky here on Pantsless Tables. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully, you've watched the whole show already. If you haven't watched the whole show already, this is going to have spoilers for the entirety of it. So my recommendation is go back and watch the whole show and then come back to this and watch this. Or if you don't mind spoilers, watch this, and it's up to you. And then if you like what you hear, you can go back and watch the show then. But thank you for being here. Really grateful. Thank you, everybody at the table, for being here. This incredible cast has told a beautiful story together using a wonderful system created by M. Hubbard and Evil Hat. At the time of this coming out, Evil Hat is still running through the end of May 2026, an open playtest of Rocket Club, the system that we played to tell this story. If you'd like to play it and have 172-page PDF and a bunch of supporting materials for free, you can go to evilhat.com/rocket-club. That's evilhat.com/rocket-club and sign up for playtest. Yeah, I find that helps people visualize, oh, it's a slash and then it's a dash, right? So you can sign up there. The only thing that we would ask, that they would ask, that we would ask, is if you do sign up and get those materials and have a chance to look them over, to watch our show, to maybe even play a bit with them at your own table, please share any insights that you have through the Google form that is available on there as well as a playtester. You will get credited in the book when it is eventually formally published as a playtester if you do that. And even more importantly, you're going to help take this already amazing game and make it better. So with all that said, I would like to pass it around for introductions, starting with Steve.
Oh, hi. Hello. I'm Steve, also known as Sassy Pants. I run Pantsless Tables, and I was playing Samir Shuddhi. My pronouns are he, him. Samir's pronouns were he, they. And yeah, this was... Samir was supposed to be a, regular 13-year-old who doesn't really understand nuances of life and things and stuff, and slightly took a life of his own, which I feel like a lot of our characters do, based on how you build them versus how they show up on screen once you start actually role playing through them. But yeah, we can get into that pretentious shit after we've done intros. Okay, Adi.
Hello, people of the internet. I'm Adi MK. I go by Fab, he, him pronouns because he, him's a little boring and I prefer to be Fab first. In this wonderful game, I played Amara Murthy, who went by she, her. And yeah, it was, I think, interesting in that this is, I've done like bits of roleplay in games where I played a child, but that was mostly where I was a storyteller and I was creating children for other players. It was really interesting to play a game from the aspect of being children, and I cannot think of a better table to have been part of to play this game with for that. Miss Cease.
Hello, my name is Assis, my pronouns are she, her, and I have played Polly Amity, pronouns also she, her, the TikTok star royalty. And yeah, I had a blast with this. I feel like I played very against my normal type of character in many ways. Like I also, I generally play characters who have a lot of me in them, a lot of trauma in them, and Polly was not really that for the most part. And it was a really fun experience. It was fun playing children, playing in like this space in this world that Danny created, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. Well, and that we really created together, right? Because one of the beautiful things, it's something I love to do in general, but that this game is really well set up structurally to support, is a lot of co-creation at the table, right? So from the prep process, where we came up with a bunch of specifics about the world together, through to even how it plays structurally, right? Where with the core role of 3D6, I determine 1/3 of that, but the other 2/3, while they're shaped by the story, and there are exceptions like rolling a 5 on side effect where you can learn something, then you ask me something and I tell you that, generally speaking, are created by the players, right? So like you roll a 2 on side effect as it's currently written, and you draw attention, it's negative attention from somebody you don't want attention from, that's still defined by the players. Or like you roll a 1 on the side effect, it's a crisis, that's defined by you too, and you get to decide how things are worse for your character and your character's friends. For me, that's a lot of the secret sauce in the game, because it leans into the brilliance of the table, right? Not like an authorial focus on the GM or guide in this case, but on everybody. Because you all made it. You all objectively made this better than I would have ever made it on my own. Right?
We took Steve's that one suggestion of the town, and then we used that to make this weird Truman Show like fucking reality. Like,
and it was glorious.
I love
it.
It
Was, and it allowed us to tell a story that was so authentic emotionally for your characters, these children, what they were going through in a very heightened environment. So we got to have this big sort of anime scale story experience with lots of influences from various kinds of media, animated media, movies, films, that went far beyond what a lot of people might see as the baseline of this game. I think it did something really important for the overall project we're doing, the multi-stage anthology, right? The collaboration of all these channels, including Pantsless Tables, where one of the main things that I wanted to achieve that you also brilliantly allowed us collectively to succeed at, in my view, is showing how much this game can handle, right? That we can do bigger things. You can have characters that have NASA level technology. The Rocket Club that you were in has been there for time immemorium. You know, like that things like that exist, and it not only doesn't break the game, it fits perfectly, right? And still everything emotionally beautiful and grounded about the game flows through that, is a testament to its sturdy construction and flexibility, allowing for it. With that in mind, I'd like to open up the questions themselves. We started with conceptualizing a town with the town, the middle school, the world, the country, etc., and made things hyper specific from there, including profound cosmic horror, anime level spectacle. What part of this world we created together do you think you're going to carry with you most moving forward, like when you think about the show? For me, it's really hard for it to not just be like Baby Girl, because having a sentient like vehicles that only speaks in Bad Bunny quotes is an extremely specific and wonderfully like exciting.
100%. Like my answer was going like my first thought that came to the head was the bunker, right? Because that was home base. But then we actually ended up spending a fair amount of time in Baby Girl. You know,
That's so wild out of context.
It is. I was not aware of what I said. No.
It's another one of those like it's also very, it's the same thing, right? I think a lot of this series was something that started out as one small thing, usually from Steve, that then turned into this massive thing. Like the whole Bad Bunny thing. Bad Bunny was like a one-off thing that, okay, Bad Bunny plays in our thing. And then suddenly Bad Bunny became like a recurring element that's important in the series. Baby Girl was just supposed to be Samir's rocket rig, and basically became a character of its own, right? Like all our rocket rigs were not equal in the play of this series. Baby Girl was like per character set. My rocket rig I used like once when it was near the end. Like it's wild. I do think that I still think like the town and like everything we genetically named is the part that I take away the most. Like I think that part of like our creation is still, I don't know, there's something so beautiful and yet simple about it. I think especially the way it built up into us both trying to find the perfect like common name for things and also occasionally self-correcting ourselves or others when we did give something too specific a name. Like
Yes.
that is
That
what
was
I'm
great.
gonna carry with me. Like that's
Yeah.
Socialist
I love
space
that.
TV show. Yes, yes.
Yeah. You know what? I like Asis's answer better. I'm going to go with that one as well.
Steve.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I'm not stealing. I'm aligning.
I love-
Aligning.
Steve, what about you?
I mean, you've said the important stuff, right? Baby Girl, which was my creation. You said the town, the arcade, which was also my creation. So, I mean, does it feel right for me to pick a third thing that was also my creation, or should I go with something that was not my creation?
Anything you'd like, really. Whatever authentically is going to stick with you. is
Oh
the
yeah,
right
no, for sure. I was just stalling for time because I couldn't think for anything else. But no, but I think the vibe for Polly with the TikTok shit, which is completely like Assis mentioned, completely out of type for Assis to do that. I think that is one of my favorite things. Just the, hey, we're filming. Hey, what's up, Poly fam? Experimenting with the different names for the community, which is something that I also do a lot. As what do we call ourselves? We call ourselves the Pantsless Squads, the Pantsless Parade. What are we doing? Are we doing more PP stuff? I don't know. So yeah, I think just because of that, I'm going to go with Polly's TikToking as the thing that I will remember the most.
Love that. That's fantastic. That does make me think also, looking at that specific decision to play the royalty and take the royalty in such a brilliant, beautiful direction, that had comedy, that had pathos, that had a lot of plot relevance. How did each of you feel, and Aziz, if you feel comfortable with it, we can start with you. How did each of you feel about your reputations going in? Like, I'd love to have a little bit of insight as to why you picked that reputation, and then how your relationship to that evolved over the course of the series.
Oh, okay. That's so the thing. I mean, I picked my reputation last, and the kind of reputation that I would have been likely to go for would have been the genius and the misfit. Like that would have been my first choice, and I was very tempted to play it safe and pick either the genius or the misfit. But by the time I got around to doing it, both of them had been picked already. So I was left with this choice of a bunch of different stuff, and it's. I think I was definitely not sure at first of what I was doing, and again, like I said, right, like when my type was immediately taken from me, it kind of did push me into then playing a bit more against type. And there were many other options I could do. I considered a couple of other things. I thought about the new kid, but I felt like I think at that point I was also considering the dynamic. Like there was a part of me that was like, okay, if we have a genius and a misfit, what rounds that out in a good way, right? So in my brain, I was like, the new kid and trouble are not really good for rounding that out. And like trouble is also something I would play. Zero is something that would also be very much to my type. But I was like, I don't know. I felt like to properly complement this duo, Hero and Royalty were really good options, and maybe Daredevil. Which is why I was like, okay, yeah, even if I'm playing one of those, then that idea of like TikTok came into my head, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's go with the royalty. Again, I wasn't sure about pulling it off. I think the more we built it, the more kind of secure I felt. But I don't know, something about that first session, and when I like, just picked up my phone and started like pretending to vlog, it just fit right in. It fit right in, and I felt very comfortable with the playbook in general. I think the prompts and all also made a lot of sense. I think I liked the moves I had, even though I didn't use them that much also, but it was nice. And then I kind of had a second coming in a way that like I think by even just the second session, I started to also find like the more not that I hadn't definitely written it into Polly's character with some of our relationship questions and stuff, but by like the second session, I think I also tried to find the more caring about her friend side of Polly, the more like I started to find facets of her beyond just being like a rich, well-known person who does TikTok. And that made me even more comfortable. Like it was like, we are playing like teenage stereotypes, and yet you're also seeing multifaceted versions in each of these characters. And so that made me very comfortable with it by the end. Yeah.
I love that. I will say, if I didn't know that it was outside, like if you hadn't shared that it was outside of your wheelhouse, I wouldn't have known. Because from my perspective, it felt like it fit like a glove from the rip, like right away. Yeah, Adi, you want to go next?
So on going through the reputations that had were on offer, all of them were really well fleshed out, and quite a few of them spoke. But like the only things that I immediately kind of like my compass steered towards were the what is the talker, like the
Magpie.
magpie, it was the magpie and the genius, because both of those were things that I think I would have liked to have been in high school that I was not. Right. So yeah. And I think I picked genius because I think now, like looking back, if I hadn't been deep in the quagmire of childhood trauma and insecurity, I think I might have actually been a fairly magpie type person earlier on, but I think why I picked genius is that I would have always liked to be in the smart kid. Like, I mean, Dexter was one of my favorites of all of the, the Cartoon Network dailies, like, the older gen. And that is, I think, one of the things that I really liked about Rocket Club, and like, just how zany can we make this be, like, in terms of just things that we can do. Like, how are we just going to be like, Dexter's Lab, or are we pushing into like, hard sci-fi, like Arrival kind of level shit? And I think that it was very interesting, because there were so many points that, like, especially towards the second and third episode, when it was realized that this thing was coming back to us, like, this was not the first time it had come here and shit. So all of those were like some crazy reveals. But I think when I ended up picking genius, Amara Murthy, she ended up being fairly close to what I kind of had imagined for her being, like, the kind of person, and like, I mean, she had her own moments of confidence, but then, like, when that faltered, she had two other really, like, strong people in their own way. Definitely, I think more Polly, like, she would have leaned on, like, for that support and, like, kind of backup. But also, of course, Samir as well, like, So I think it was. She was lucky that there were two sweet older kids that she had to back herself up with when she was not in the best moments, in the best heads pace. Yeah.
I love that. And Steve?
So when we first started doing character stuff, I kind of like did not want to play to type. And Steve as a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old was not a misfit. Steve as a 12, 13-year-old was significantly or like decently popular and was more of like a daredevil or more of like a...
Humble brag.
No, it's less of that and more of like, I think it was also because maybe I didn't notice it, that I did not have friends or I was not liked. Because I just assumed everyone liked me because I liked everyone. It was like that kind of thing. It was only when teenage hormones hit and I hit like 15, 16 and I was like, oh, maybe everyone hates me, and now I don't know if part of that is mental health issues or if it was like actual, but there was a lot of like shit that led up to that. So I figured if I play Misfit, I will be playing 16, 17-year-old Steve, not 12, 13-year-old Steve. And like, the difference in a 13-year-old and a 17-year-old is very different, even though you're both technically teenagers. But as a 13-year-old, being the misfit felt a little bit more interesting and appealing in that sense. And it also fit with the vibe of the questions, that the way that I had answered the questions that we had set for us. It fit that playing a misfit in the world where it's the town or it's the arcade or the pizza place, where nothing really has its own identity. It's just a generic thing. So to be a misfit in that world fit for me, at least. So that's why I picked it to begin with. And then I saw the questions and I was like, oh yeah, this is perfect. This makes sense to me. So that was like the lead up to it.
I love that. You had, I'm going to go backwards here and connecting up and diving in a little bit more to your characters. Starting with you again, Steve. Samir had this incredible arc that felt right out of any number. Like it would have been at home. What we did overall, I think, would have been at home in a lot of anime shows. Like you could fully just animate what we told, right? And I think it would make for compelling viewing, as hopefully our show has for people. You were able to scale this from like crushing teenage insecurity to literally tearing the fabric of a fractal dimension with your bare hands, using mechanics and your creativity. Like, what was that like for you? Like managing this very grounded thing that you were just describing, right? In this heightened environment that not only, as you were starting to mention, although I'd love to hear more about that, being a misfit in a world where everything is genericized, right, in a very specific, overt way, but also in a world where you have so much capacity and capability, right, where the actual actions you can take can be as big as your emotions feel at that age. What was that like from your perspective?
I think this is a very helpful thing when I'm role playing, but it's a detriment in real life. Is I do not think before I say shit or before I react. And it's very helpful when you're doing outrageous shit in a game where it's like, the world's ending. What do we do? Oh, I'm going to, break this thing open with my bare hands. Sure, fuck it. Why not? That's how I'm going to free my friends. And I think it really helps me make outrageous decisions. Like even in another game that we were playing recently, I made a split-second decision to put two rocks together that sent us back 1500 years in time, which was not planned. It was not intended. I was just trying to do, hey, how are we going to fix this? And I just chose to do it. So it does not help in the real world because, the real world has far-reaching consequences than games that you play and do. So it kind of, I think for me, there were some moments where I was like, okay, you're a teenager. You cannot say this shit. You cannot do these things because as an almost 30-year-old, there are some things that I would do that a 13-year-old would not, So there were instances where choosing not to swear in character and then choosing when to swear in character versus the deciding to take off his shirt to celebrate or like to be his, what was the thing? It was something unexpected. Yeah. So do that there versus more grounded 13-year-old having a panic attack, which I think Polly did much more than the rest of us. No, wait, sorry, which Amara did much more than the rest of us. But I digress. I think for me it was more like, do I put myself in 13-year-old me's shoes and play this, or do I play this as Steve myself but just not swear? Which is what I ended up doing because that's how it. And I don't know if it. I feel like it worked for this specific game that we were playing. It might not have worked for a different setting or a different game, but it worked here, and it was great.
I don't think it's incidental that it worked here because of meaning I think that it is a reflection of process that it worked here because we built this world together, right? Like I think that the collaborative nature, of the system supported us in our collaborative approach, and because all of us were enthusiastic to collaborate in that way that had like a sort of a flat hierarchy. Do you know what I mean? Everybody had different responsibilities, y'all with your different reputations, me with my facilitation, but we were all in this together. So it could be responsive to what you were most excited about, Steve, as it was most responsive to what you were excited about, Assis, and what you were excited about, Adi, right? And what I was excited about, because we made it together. And one thing I would say that I would take away, that I feel like I'm taking away from this game, not just for future Rocket Club games, but for tabletop role-playing games in general, to the degree that each table wants to engage with this and each system allows for it, or we can engage with it in ways that allow for it. I want more of that. Do you know what I mean? Like I want more of that collaborative experience because I feel like we got a richer story, and hopefully everybody, at least I, to speak for myself, had a better experience, had a more profoundly enjoyable, engaging experience of co-creation and discovery together, right? Because I prepared a lot of stuff on my side of the table, but I also made a bunch of stuff on the fly, right? And I did that in reaction to all of you. And I'm so grateful I got to do it, because you just gave me gift after gift after gift, so much good stuff to engage with. And that's what I find I want from this process more often than not. Adi, Steve mentioned something interesting a moment ago that I'd like to lean into also, right? Like this is a story that we brought in a lot of very stark stakes to, right? Those watching at home wouldn't necessarily know this off the rip, but like some of the cultural touchstones that I mentioned that I was interested in when we were first talking about this are things like Annihilation and Scavenger's Reign, which are not even for 11 to 14-year-olds to watch typically, right? Much less live through.
Definitely not Scavenger's Reign. Oh my god.
Right. Well, Annihilation's pretty rough too, like viscerally, right? So, and we some of the influences in the world of anime that I was thinking of on my side are things like Mob Psycho 100, which is set, with middle school protagonists and these big powers and stuff, but also Hell's Paradise, which is rough, like very rough and intense, right? Viscerally. A lot of the alien presences that you all were engaging with, and the like conceptually and immediately, right? Like in terms of the physical lived reality of your characters were intense. And your character, as you played the genius, reputation, came up with really creative, interesting, genius-worthy, right? Like kinds of fixes, ways into this. At the same time, was 12 years old, physically small, and had significant issues with things like her inhaler. So what was it like for you to balance that, have that character live in that environment with those capabilities and those limitations, and at the same time have to find your way through to actually do something about the scary stuff in the world?
I think I have a very easy answer to that, actually, like which expressed itself as Steve mentioned. Amara lost her shit quite often, like, and it was either through just like luck, or through one of her other Rocket Club member friends being around, that she got centered back. And it was really good that it happened, because if that hadn't happened, like, Amara would have started going off the deep end, like, some pure, like, goddess Kali level shit, like, who knows. But the darkest timeline did not happen, despite everything that was kind of thrown at us. And that was only because of how well everything worked out, and how we individually and together as the Rocket Club kind of rose to the challenge. Right? But I mean, how I was thinking about it is that, like, a small kid doing that much brain work, that's a lot of fucking energy consumed, draining as hell. Yeah. And like, there's so much emotional upheaval and devastation kind of more or less happening, and pulling away of people and identities and everything else that is familiar. You start, I think, grasping for threads of what once was. And if those things hadn't been around, if those things and those people hadn't been around Amara, I think, things would have ended up perhaps a little differently. Yeah. But it was, hey, and she always had, Mr. Spock to guide her logic when she was most questioning herself.
Yeah.
Socialist
Space Show definitely had a fun little bit in this.
100% Socialist Space Show for real, for win. Yeah, I like the little nerd. She was cutie.
I'm really glad. Yeah, me too. See, I wanted to dig in on your side to the revelation of Polly's crush, right?
Oh.
And specifically as it relates to the like crushes and rivals mechanic, which doesn't, in the playtest version, for clarity for those watching at home, doesn't typically apply to player characters, but partially because of our experiences through this game. I've been talking to M. Hubbard, the creator of the game, Hey M, about some of the feedback I've been getting at this table and at one or two others about an interest in potentially using crushes and rivals with other PCs as well. So I don't know where things are going to land, but it's not impossible that can find its way into the game formally. Even without that, just this being a game that is simultaneously about alien invasion and middle school, right? And middle school is the part of that gets a mention at the top of the book with a quote talking about how it is the worst place in the world, right? Not the alien invasion stuff, that part. It's that and a Greta Thunberg quote about finding a way to do something in the face of, seemingly insurmountable odds.
Aziz, fist bump. I've been hanging around here for like a while
now. I love that. Yeah, I'd love to just anything that you're comfortable getting into about the experience of dealing with the big volatile emotions of the age range, specifically as it relates to crushes in the game.
Oh, God. Lots going on here. I mean, I agree that, like, I think crashes and rivals are now being inclusive of other PCs would be a good inclusion. I love playing into PC romance. It's just something I really like in every scenario. It's one of the reasons Thirsty Sword Legends is one of my favorite like TTRPGs. Like it is Peter Pog Legend to me because it's such a big part of it. Like that, Monster Heart, stuff like that. I like interplayer romance, and obviously interplayer romance is a completely different beast when you're playing like queens and teams. Completely different scenario, right?
Yes.
It's like we're literally like crushes is literally just crushes. Like, and it's very interesting. I would say, I mean, when I decided that was my secret, it was really just me acting on an impulse, and I completely had forgotten there was a crushes and rivals mechanic.
Mhm.
I was just like, yeah, it would be fun if the TikTok star royalty has a crush on one of these users.
Yeah, I
And,
love that. Feels very
and I
relatable too,
mean,
right? Because the way you see yourself, like the name of this of the playbooks is reputation, right?
yeah,
So that was chosen specifically by M as like this can be who you are, but it's
it
not
makes so much
about
sense.
who you are. It's about who sees. It's how people see you, right?
It makes so much sense, right? It goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, okay, yeah, that's a stereotype, but you have so many more facets because it is, yeah, reputation is like credit to him, the like perfect term for the playbooks in this game.
100%.
Encapsulates what they're actually about. Like, but yeah, and as like you guys know, I think like I can't remember if I actually mentioned it during playing the game or not, but like I hadn't actually decided which of the two Polly has a crush on, right? I figured that I will play we'll play a bit. By the time I hit 5 experience, I'll have a good enough idea of Steven Adi's characters to know which one Polly has a crush on. Um, that I went for the girl is just a pure coincidence and nothing more. It does not speak to anything about Assis's personal anyway. Um, but yeah, I think playing off like teenage crush, like I mean also like Polly is the oldest of the three. I feel like 14 and 12, there can be such a rift between 14 and 12. Um, and I don't know. I think I wasn't even sure at first how to play it because my experiences with crushes and love and all of this stuff was, I guess, maybe a bit remote from the typical back in that time. I mean, there's enough going on with me queerness wise and like other things wise that it was strange to me, and I don't know. For me, I think when I was younger, like I went from thinking that love is stupid and that it makes no sense to having a crush, and then suddenly every crush I've ever had, I felt with such massive intensity. But when I was in school, it was like yeah, it wasn't something to talk about or confess to someone. That was like wired. It was all consuming. It was overwhelming, and I feel like I didn't really draw from my own experiences for portraying Polly's crush. Um, and again, like I said, I don't remember what it was like to be 14. I had to block a lot of that shit out from my memory. Um,
Fair.
I,
Yeah.
and like I said, I didn't, I wasn't going into Polly as a character with some of my trauma projected onto her, like I do with a lot of my characters in Rita Fox. I I wanted Polly to be relatively well adjusted. And so I was just like, yeah, okay, a crush is just like a thing for her. It's just like a normal chill thing that she's realizing is a part of being a teenager. And it's, yeah, it is important to her. It's not going to be overwhelming and like take over her brain. It's not going to be like terrifying in too many, like, beyond the normal amounts that a crush should be terrifying to any teenager. Like, and she is popular. She does have like a lot of people. Like, I tried to count for stuff in. I tried to play with my knowledge of like Disney Channel shows and stuff into the portrayal as best I could, and then I
Yeah.
kind of just played at it. Uh, I did. There was one point where I was like, "Oh, I should have chosen a different sequel. This was a bad idea." But I did my best.
No, you did great. I thought it was lovely and very relatable and explored a really nice way to engage with that. I thought that, amidst all of this turmoil and difficulty that all of your characters faced, you all struck what is in my mind a really great balance between showing kids trying to model good behavior, like in the sense, I mean good behavior not in terms of like behave yourself. I mean like these kids are trying to be good people, right? Whatever that means at their age and whatever that means to them. But I felt like they were trying to do what they thought was right. And you didn't, and they were able to do a lot of really big, what we could consider super heroic things in terms of like the technology, the engagement with the aliens and all that. But they were still kids, right? Like through and through, all three of them were still emotionally kids. The quote I was alluding to before from the, go ahead.
And Polly was so considerate and cautious, like in the confession, in the reception, and the aftermath of that. Like I honestly like that is I think I was really honored to have been part of that little storyline that was going on as it developed. I thought it was damn cute and like a nice little possible queer awakening that happened. And yeah, I mean I'll reiterate what I said in session. That was one of my favorite fictional confessions that I've ever gotten.
I love that. How Steve, when it came to your like relationships with NPCs throughout, or even just this that we've been talking about with the crushes interchange, right? Playing the other character around while this was happening. What about these, let's call it street level, more grounded, relatable interpersonal relationships sticks with you most coming out of this story we told together?
I think the thing that will stick out with me for the end of it is how we ended our show, which is just with Sameer. Ha, gay. I think that was the funniest thing that I've done in the entire 4 episodes. And I did a lot of funny things in the 4 episodes. So, but just being the bystander watching these two awkwardly trying to flirt, or what, not even flirt, but just like communicate as teenagers who like each other, or one of them does and the other one is trying to figure out if they want to like people or if they do. It was very one, it was very funny just watching 2 of my friends do it, but also as character. Okay, yes, I heard that.
Worded better. They can't be bigger.
Watching 2 of my friends do it was the funniest experience of my life. They're quoted.
Yeah.
It was just, I felt like just being, not being actively involved in it. Like I had a brief crush rival thing in the first episode with the twins, but even that was very much like played off because it was a thing in passing, and it was also because of the way the dice rolls happened. But I think this is why, like, if M does decide to put this in the actual playbook for it to be with the PCs thing, it'll be like we will be able to use the mechanic a lot more, because there were a lot of instances in the game where it was just the 3 of us, right? There were no NPCs around. So to be able to witness that and to watch the 2 of them just be awkward about flirting, and even like the final thing where Amara was like, "Oh, can I give you a hug?" or something. It was very cute, and it was like, this is nice, but I'm glad I'm not part of it, and I'm able to watch it from outside because it's funnier this way. And I think that was the through line for me, at least. Just,
I
hey,
want
this
to
is so
say
funny.
something,
And
but I feel like it's
yeah,
in bad taste.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Steve talk moments.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
There we go.
I want to dig into a couple more things if we have time, and then I'm going to actually open it up to see what questions you might have for me. What did it? So I don't know what your expectation, other than what we worked on together in co-creation, which again, is, as we mentioned before, is thankfully in this game a process that has a lot of scaffolding, right? If I have the opportunity to run, let's say, a longer campaign of this in the future on camera, my intention would likely be, if the table were down for it, that we would have like a filmed session 0 that would have the full co-creation process as like a first episode, right? Above table of us making that, and then we would go in and play the game there so that people could see the fullness of that, and we could do more of it at the table together, because for this and all of the rest of the games that I've run for this multi-stage anthology, we've done a little bit of it in voice call, and then because there's so much of it, we've done a lot of it asynchronously, which works well too. And if you at home are watching this and you end up doing that, I highly recommend it. It was clearly a very effective process. But I'm curious to see how it happens all together. Was there anything from the co-creation process that was built in there that you all really would like to engage with more, or want to bring into other games that you're playing, or would like to have had more of that we didn't get to get into more in this case because of what I just mentioned, because of how we approached it?
I quite liked the bit in which where each reputation had specific questions which would give flavor and form to the space that like the story was going to be in. I thought that was a really good way to bring in player input and immersion, and a really interesting way to allow agency and to facilitate it. I think that was really cool. And like, especially then I think like my favorite part about how that happened here is like we didn't actually if we had actually had done that at the same time on the same call, I think we would have ended up with something maybe perhaps not as wild as like
More cohesive.
more cohesive. Like I think like several kind of statements or creative bits kind of things went for a loop, like, but like, I I threw in the singularity, like and
Which we're going to get to. I have a thing about the singularity.
So yeah, I think we immediately established a scale of like crazy. Yeah.
But everybody yes-anded that at the table also, right?
100%.
Like
100%.
that was because there's a world in which that gets mentioned, and somebody else might be like, "That feels like it's too much," or "I'm feeling like we're getting away from what we're doing."
I almost
and then
did even.
Right.
I actually almost did. Well,
Mm.
yeah. So the thing is, like, okay. So just in general, like, I at first was like, I think it was very clear that doing it on call was not going to happen. But I was also a bit hesitant about, just because of the sheer number of things that we were like building. And some things were easier than others. Like, I feel like the relationship questions, I was like perfectly happy with it happening on like on the thread. And I think that worked out perfectly. There was enough, like, going back and forth a little, it's fine. The bunker vote, I felt even more like, oh, we really should have just done this on call, because that was literally like voting between some stuff, getting like a cohesive thing. I I was like, that should have been on call. But
Yeah.
the actual town building is one of those things where like when we were going through the process, I was like, oh God, we really should have done this on call. We're all just saying completely other stuff. I can't even like sit and read everything Steve and Adi are saying. I skimmed and it's like all this weird stuff, and I'm like, okay, we've all said entirely different things. How the hell is any of this going to work? I was like, this singularity thing seems way too big. But I was like, but yeah, I've been doing this for a while. I know that I know when yes standing is the way to go. It's not like anything was like uncomfortable for me. The other if it's not going against lines and ways, I will do my best to yes and because yeah, let's see what happens. So I was very hesitant about the singularity that was going to stop me from yes anding it, and
Right.
yeah, I mean, it went in so many brilliant ways. Like that's the thing. Like, if you would ask me, I would say that yeah, you should do the town creation and all of that in a call, in a recorded session zero. And yet, the fact that we did it the way we did it, just
Mm.
it created so much. It created so much amazing stuff. Like the
Yeah.
way everything And I think even like the way that, like Danny, you took all our answers and put them
100%.
together, like you described the town and the school, like these sentences based on everything we had thrown together. It
Mhm.
was
100%.
it was so good. And obviously it's also I mean it's worth mentioning that like, not every single thing we answered in these questions became a part of our game, right? Or
Right.
like, we all as we got into playing obviously picked and chose what to include, what felt right when we were actually playing the game. There's yeah, it just worked out great. God, if we should have done. I'm reading through some of the answer and I'm like, I can't believe we never talked about the peanut butter jelly sandwich school mascot.
Well, we didn't have time, right? I feel
We
like
didn't have time. There
we
was
only
so
did
much.
4 episodes.
There was
If we
so
did a longer
much.
thing, there's more that could come.
But yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I love that there are. I think having all of these questions, it works so good. And I mean, I think like correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, but like you like some of the stuff we did, you said in it like from what I understand in the actual like playtest is more that like we divide the work up and like one person answers one thing, the other person answers the other thing, and instead we all give answers for like a whole bunch of stuff, right?
yeah, it's so yes, sort of in the sense of like there's like a middle ground. So everybody would in one section, let's say, like pick one of 4 options and roll a
Right.
d6 and then answer that question. But then there's also guidance that can say in some sections like maybe do 2 of these or what have you. I created it so like you each had one question to answer from those sections. You didn't answer the same question, right? So like I scaled it up a bit in some areas, but it was always based on stuff that you all were asked to you all would be asked to add in. And in like a plus or minus where I wasn't like breaking I wasn't putting more of it in there. I was putting more of it in there, but I wasn't asking you to do anything you wouldn't normally be asked to do. I was just giving
Okay.
opportunities to do more of it potentially.
And I think that was a brilliant decision because that really got us to like a lot of where we were. And I mean, when you look at it in like even the way that okay, yeah, we did manage to get to everything. I think the fact that we had more questions meant we had more stuff to draw from, which is why that
Right.
even without getting to everything, okay, we could like draw from enough from everything.
Yeah. Yeah, that's honestly that's one of the things that I really loved too was I felt so empowered to play to find out from the guide seat because so much world existed. So I prepared a bunch of stuff, right? But then I also had such clear guidance from the process for like these are the things that you all are excited about. I know you're excited about them because you made them, right? Like the fact that you brought them to the table it gave me confidence that like if I lean into this, that, or the other thing, that is going to be not only welcome at the table, but hopefully met with excitement, because I know that you all have already bought in to that stuff. And that was really wonderful because I felt really empowered all across the board to dive into everything I was excited about because I had a better understanding, a more concrete, meaningful understanding of what you all were excited about. Adi, Steve, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, so I think this is one of those instances where it's like a very fine line between not telling the players everything and telling the players everything kind of thing. Like I do feel like if it is something that might impact Lions and Wales, players should know in advance. But if it's like a secret thing, or if it's a character betrayal thing that you have prepped for weeks in advance to, replace a character with a different character who's a shapeshifter but actually isn't and is there to take out the party or whatever. And anyway, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, yeah, players should know in advance so that, we don't cross any lines or rails or we don't make them feel uncomfortable. But also watching people react to your stupid shit that you've prepped for 6 weeks in real time while the players and the characters in character are reacting is also like, for me personally, like I feel like that's a really cool part of TTRPGs that we get to do, because you get twice the reaction, right? If you tell the players in advance, yes, the characters will still react because the players are very good performers, but the players themselves are not surprised. So how do you find that balance? How do you figure out how to quote unquote betray your teammates or your group while also maintaining that they feel comfortable and safe playing with you in the future? I think that was one of those things that I'm glad neither of you spoke about it, so I can, which was the decision to have a second secret alien race that was part and was watching us this entire time, which gave us like a full 20 minutes of intense world building that we wouldn't have had otherwise, which was the whole future scene with the future version of Samir and getting to see like an idealized version of himself. And I think even if the players knew about that in advance, it would have still been a very cool thing for the viewers at least. But like when I was reading it out, because I mentioned it in one of the things in passing, and watching both of them react to this, I was like, okay, my work is done. We have done it. We have done the thing. And it actually paid off, because I didn't think it would come into effect at all. But roles dictated that, they were watching and they were angry and they're upset about your decisions. So here's what we do with it. And the way that you played that off to give us all of that, like, because none of that was in the lore either, right? It was just, it's an alien race. I don't know how much of that you had built on in before, but like from what I could tell, like that entire section was improv. And I think
100%. I was ready with the tools of like, this is all the stuff that you all answered. Like I looked at all that stuff, I organized it, I prepped based on that and my own stuff I brought there. But then I just was reactive to, I'm very comfortable with improvisational storytelling in general. So because of that, yeah, fully, you're correct in reading that like that moment earned itself and we made it by hand together there in front of the camera, right? And I loved getting to do that. That was such a gift to me. So, thank you for that. I thought that was really cool. And we had so many times like that, all of us across the series, where we got to make really cool stuff in the moment. And I think that balance that you're talking about is so vital, because from a safety perspective, it's only possible if you do a lot of work to create good scaffolding for safety, clear lines of communication, cultivate and maintain high trust at the table so that everybody feels comfortable and empowered to say what they're actually feeling, to speak up for themselves when something feels uncomfortable, and know that they're not going to be alienated or judged for that, that it is going to be taken as intended and with an assumption of good faith and welcomed. I think that really matters. It's one of the things that I try to do as much as I can from my position as facilitator, but I don't have full control over that on my side of things, right? It's something we all participate in. and participate in maintaining. And that relates very clearly to like big stuff about lines and veils, but it also relates in meaningful ways to just the kind of storytelling surprises you're talking about, right? That we can trust each other enough to jump and know that we're going to catch each other, to trust that when a big swing shows up like that, or like the inclusion of the singularity, right? That it's going to matter. I'm going to say even Polly, the presence on TikTok feels like that to me, right? Like it's a big thing to have that audience. It became consequential throughout the story to have that. I love that we got to play this game together and tell this story in a context of trust that was multilateral and meaningful, that allowed for all those risks to be taken. Because I think it was for me, it was a much more enjoyable experience, creative experience. And I think we told a better story that way. So thank you all for that. With that, I will say, I want to give you all, well, actually, I did want to ask one last group question before I open it up to everybody. And it's about rocket surgery. And really more than just that exact maneuver in the game. It's about mechanical collaboration, right? I'd love to hear whatever you all would be excited to share about your engagement with the mechanics of the game in ways that felt really meaningful or consequential to you. The example I have here is, rocket surgery, taking the singularity, connecting it up to baby girl, making them, baby girl, into a sentient Bad Bunny blasting wormhole jumping party bus. Was a big, wonderful, beautiful swing that had meaning and pathos. Like, it's a good bit and also fit the world well, and also was consequential in a variety of ways. It was a mechanically interesting decision. You can talk about that. You can talk about other mechanical stuff, but I'd love to just open it up to the table before we turn to you all asking me whatever you might be interested in asking me. What sticks out to you about the mechanics of the game, how they fed into the storytelling that you would want to talk about right now?
Could somebody else go? I'll just be right back.
Yeah, I can go first.
Sure.
Okay, there's many parts here. I think like the rolling system was really fun. I mean, like the outcome dice, it's like pretty simple, but
Right.
the side effect dice, it just goes in so many different ways. Where it's like, yeah, drawing attention, looking foolish, you might want that in some scenarios. Looking cool is so fun narratively, and then like you learn something just completely is like entirely different. Crisis is also something entirely different. I think narratively that's great. I think the fact that there is that mood dice, which is constantly throwing narrative stuff at you every time you roll.
Yeah.
I think that was very interesting. And yeah, I think like also like, it's like, I think when we were making our characters, it hadn't hit like how much the mood dice is going to play and how much your mood stuff is going to play. And obviously you don't control like a good most of your mood prompts, but that one prompt that you do control, it's important, right? So the idea that then when you're changing your secret, you know that, okay, this is something that will come up if I ever roll this number on that dice. And now you know even like better how to build your prompt and how that will play in when you roll that prompt on the dice. So I think I don't know, something about the mood dice I think is a very like interesting mechanic. I did feel like at some point it was very much like, okay, I mean, just like just playing like Balatro or something else. So you're trying to re-roll into the right combinations. And good dopamine hits, great dopamine hits.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting what defines the right combination, right? Because
exactly.
if you, go ahead, say more.
No, I mean, it's like I said, right? You might have a really good idea of what mood you want, and if you like get the stuff you want on the other, like mood was pretty much. I think none of us were reloading mood unless we had something right on the other dice, and then we're like, we have a reload. Maybe I want a different mood. Maybe I don't want to answer this prompt. But like I said, with outcome, it's very simple. You don't generally want a misfire or failure, try to just get a higher number. But with
Right.
it's the fact that with side effect, there's so much variety in what you can do. And like when I was rolling my side effect dice, I basically did not the one, but otherwise I wanted like I was very happy to get different numbers and explore different things. It's yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Steve, I
Uh,
wanted to ask. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I also really liked how forgiving the dice rolls were to give you like
Yeah.
that 1 or 2 or 3 sometimes rerolls per roll was really fucking cool. And there was no number of times and how many times you could use it. Adding the helping thing with the caveat that the mood will affect, or sorry, the others will get a condition if they get an what's the word? If you fail was also a really cool
Yeah.
way to add to it. And I think also like the mood prompt specifically gave us so many funny moments. Like when I think one of the things was when I broke open the thing, but I got sad as a mood. So I had to deal with how am I sad when I've achieved something I've been trying to achieve. I think those were really funny ways to do it. And I think a couple of times we also picked up were okay with the mood prompt, even though it didn't match, because it would have been funny to role play that. And I think that's a really cool way to do this thing where, sure, you have 3d6, but only one of those d6 actually impact your what's the word? Your
Success.
yes, your success. That
Yeah.
when the other two are more about how you feel about it and how you react to it and what others do. And I think that's a really cool thing. And it was a really cool part of the game and the system. I really liked it.
100%.
I love that. I wanted to ask you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it's just a small thing is that also, and the fact that with the mode, technically with the impulse, that's also, you can always like reject the impulse and then play against that,
Right.
which adds another whole dimension.
Yeah, absolutely. You have the opportunity, and all you're doing there is giving up XP, right? So there's no mechanic. I mean, that is a mechanical consequence, I suppose, but it's not. You're taking a condition, right? It's just you don't gain. You don't lose something. You just don't gain something, right? Which is an interesting way to contextualize that in terms of incentive, like setting up incentives mechanically. Steve, I wanted to ask because you mentioned the term before about the reveal of the watching, alien species. If I'm recalling correctly, that revelation was made possible by rolling a 2 on the side effect dice, getting to
Yep.
draw attention. And then, so could you say a little bit more about what it felt like in that moment to draw attention and then have something so consequential come out of that?
I think if I remember correctly, I was out of rolls and out of reroll, sorry. And we got that and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no. But also, oh yes, I can do this. This is the thing that I talked about fucking 6 weeks ago. And now it's happening. Oh my God. It was like, I think I was giddy even reading it because I was like, this is going to blow people's minds because we've done this. Nobody has mentioned this so far at all. Nobody knows about it, but we're here and we're doing it. I think it is top 5 moments of me playing TTRPGs. Easy. Like, don't ask me to name the other 4 because I can't, but top 5 for sure.
Nice.
I love that. And Adi, it looked like you wanted to say something.
No. I love how like it's a very holistic role. Like the outcome, the the mood, and it was just like so thematic and ambience. Like but in the way of giving like excellent cues to yes and further in our own ways. Like very nice, very nice.
Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. All right, so with that, I do want to give you all a chance to ask me questions if you'd like. Don't feel any pressure. They could be about anything that you'd like. The guide side preparation, the use of the Alien Threat Maker tool, which I highly recommend everybody watching this, and to you all here at the table, because I think you'd all be brilliant at running this game. It's very useful. I'd even say you could take it to other games, right? And use it to help if you're going to have like an alien force or like an alien presence or multiple alien presences, because the Alien Threat Maker can assist with that. Even the creation of some key NPCs, it helps with there. Some of the influences that brought in how I handled the synthesizing of the co-creation stuff, session prep versus improv, or really anything else. Bad Bunny lyrics, whatever you want.
So I mean, I have a question about the Alien Threat Maker, right? So like, is that also usually a more collaborative part of the game, or is that a GM side thing? How did you?
That's actually a strictly.
How did you go about doing that?
Yeah, so rules is written, that is a strictly GM side thing, right? So typically I would go back to the text to make sure that I'm not talking out of turn about how much of that is necessarily shared ahead of time. But my understanding of the text so far has been that the intent is you utilize the Alien Threat Maker to create these alien threats and then reveal the alien threats throughout the course of gameplay. So typically, it isn't really revealed ahead of time. What I will say from a safety tools perspective, to harken back to something we were talking about a little bit earlier, is when specific things come up in the Alien Threat Maker tool, if it's happening prior to the safety discussions that are happening, then my recommendation is include content notices on the way in about these being intrinsic elements to the game. And then if they contrast with anybody's lines or veils, have more nuanced, meaningful conversations to the degree that everybody's comfortable doing that about what those lines and veils mean, so that you can then adapt the alien threats to respect those lines and veils and still have that intrinsic quality. I don't find typically that it's an either or sort of situation, unless a hard line is so hard that, like, I don't know, I can't have anybody, like, I can't be at a table where anything takes place in the deep ocean and you have an alien threat that exists in the deep ocean, right? If there's a completely, I find those are edge cases, but a completely irreconcilable situation, then if you all still want to play together at the table, re-roll part of the Alien Threat Maker. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a tool, it's not a trap, right? So just like use it to make something else. It's going to be fun for everybody involved. Simultaneously, if a person finds that that's happening and they want to walk away from the table, right, in like a no harm, no foul situation, but like, hey, your deep sea story sounds great, just not for me, that's fully valid, right? And I think being able to have direct conversations about that is fine. So you can change the alien threat, or you can decide, hey, we're going to play a different game together and then enjoy this game with people who are good with the deep ocean stuff or whatever it is, right? But yeah, other than that, other than having like those kinds of conversations and disclaimers to make sure everybody's safe at the table, the nature of the threats are as designed meant to be on our side, like the guide side of the table, and then revealed like in parceled out story fashion. The process is great. It's an oracle system, right? So you take playing cards and you use tables, and you take the pulls from that, and then you interpret how the tables, like how the results of the tables interact with each other. And it's like magic, honestly. It's like storytelling magic. It's gorgeous. I love, Em has built such a beautiful, elegant system in this tool. It's a fun mini game on its own too. Like, it's just very satisfying if you like world building stuff, to be able to dig in. So even just for that, as like a creative exercise, I recommend it. It's a blast.
I am curious about how what some of those outcomes were that led you to because like the
Yeah,
threat you've created is very there's so many facets of it. There's the idea of the triumvirate, then there's the fractals, then there's the plant people, and it's like they all kind of tie into each other in some way. So I'm very curious as to some of this. Like obviously don't go through the entire Oracle process, but if there's any
yeah, yeah, of
important
course.
parts that you like.
Yeah, here, I will, over on this side, pull up the actual Oracle process to be referencing so that I'm not talking out of turn. And then at the same time, I will look up the notes that I have, because so this alien threat and two of the others for two of the three other shows that are part of this project all came out of me playtesting the Alien Threat Maker back in August of 2025. So I've actually had these, like the very foundational elements of these alien threats since then. But then what I've been doing with my process with these, which I recommend because it worked out well for me from my perspective, is I then take that and marry it together with what you all tell me that you're interested in and what we talk about as influences. And then those things come together to flesh it out further. So it isn't strictly delineated by the Alien Threat Maker. The Alien Threat Maker gives me a firm basis from which to begin ideation. And then I come in with some CATS ideas, which for those watching at home who may not be familiar, it is CATS is a part of a prep process that allows you to get into things like concept and tone that can get very specific. So you can include cultural touchstones like those that we've been talking about and others that impacted this story and integrate that, right? So like the plant people stuff was heavily influenced by Annihilation and to some degree Scavenger's Reign, but did grow out of some stuff that came out of Alien Threat Maker. So you pull as a baseline 5 cards. The first 2 describe the alien creatures. You fuse 2 details together to form a single species or type of alien being. The third gives you motivations. The last 2 describe their ship. And you combine these 2 separate ideas into a single vessel. Jokers, which are included in the deck, create a conflict or deceit that complicates relationships within the group of aliens, if applicable. And if the prompt for the card you flipped isn't something you want to explore, you just, do something else. It gets a little bit more complex than that, though, because there are situations where you end up pulling face cards, because this is mostly for the base 10, and then the Joker I mentioned has their own thing. For face cards, you put those aside, and those end up helping you build specific alien NPCs, right? So you create characters, and there's a whole other set of stuff here to give you those archetypes, right? So like under hearts, because it uses a standard deck of playing cards, if you pull a Jack of Hearts, it's a puppet. Mad automaton, eternally pulled in one direction and another. The puppet is bound to strings they cannot control. They are always at the mercy of powerful forces, either external or internal, right? Which is specific enough to give you scaffolding, but then still broad enough that you can take that in a lot of different directions, especially when you put it in conversation with other things, right? And there's a bunch of that. There's also characteristics that you can put in there, cards to, drawn after the face card to describe an additional characteristic for that alien being. So let's say that puppet, I also draw an ace of clubs that would be a beautiful puppet, because that's the characteristic I pulled there. What's a beautiful puppet? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? But like, we discovered that through the creation process. It gives enough specificity that it gives me something to think about and a direction to go in, but leaves enough negative space for me to make that more specific and creative. There's a section here also on putting the pieces together that includes questions like, how do the aliens arrive? What does it seem like they want? How are they dangerous? What effect will they have on the town and its people? Who are the individual alien characters? What roles do they play? All of that stuff is very helpful in getting around the blank page problem, right? And still leaving a lot of empty space for us to make things about what we ourselves are doing. I'm gonna look now for the specific notes that I had on what we were like our specific alien thread, so I can share that too. While that's happening, anything anybody else want to follow up on?
I have more of a lore question than about a mechanics question.
Okay.
What was the plot with the triumvirate of them being here before? And a lot of that we didn't really get into. Like, were we supposed to be like replacements for them? The three, because there were three of them, there's three of us. Was that kind of the thing, or was that not the plan?
So that's one of those play to find out things, right? In the sense of, I had a sense of what their plan was, which is essentially, because we also talked about, and here I want to get over to an area in the book about themes, right? Where there's choose your allegory, right? Ecological stories, queer stories, stories of empire and displacement are the primary ones listed in the book. It's not exclusive to each other, and there, because you can have a mix of all three. Arguably, we had a mix of all three, right? But I approached this, and when I first pitched it to you all, you know this, but the people watching, for your benefit, as an ecological story. So this is a story at an allegorical level of these children facing an ecological disaster, right? In a through a funhouse mirror, right? Through which of genre, flavoring it as an alien invasion, which did also have some prominent elements of stories of empire and displacement, especially displacement, right? On the empire side of things, to answer your question, Steve, one of the things that was on the table, not the only thing that was on the table, one of the things that was on the table was the idea that with the three of you and the three of them, there was, and this is something that synergized, because the triumvirate existed from my alien threat maker polls, and we were originally going to have 4 cast members, and then we had 3 cast members. And when I found that we had 3 cast members, I was interested in that parallel. And then with how things evolved in the story, I landed on a component of it being that, especially since we also had the Rocket Club be this established organization that had existed for time immemorial, right? Longer than anybody alive could remember, that had so much trust in the community, and and so much responsibility, and also had this unique immunity because of the singularity, right? To what the triumvirate was doing, unless they chose, as we saw with the person in charge, who was an alum of the club, right? Who was in charge of the arcade, unless they chose to let go of that immunity, right? That all coming together led to a place where absolutely one of the things that was on the table was your characters, children that they were or are, were important enough to potentially be subsumed in a position of authority, right? So this, from the empire and displacement perspective, these folks were here colonizing, essentially. From an ecological perspective, they were, from their perspective, terraforming, more or less, right? Into a way of formulating reality that was appropriate to how they exist, right? Regardless of the impact on the creatures, yourselves included, who existed in that environment already, right? And you would have been able to, if things had gone in that direction, have had offered to you the chance to rule over your people, essentially, right? Like, be the triumvirate for this colony. The colony sets up here. If they had fully taken over the planet, right, and terraformed it into their, like, worst case scenario kind of situation for your characters would have been given the chance to be betrayers of your kind, essentially, right? And like, oh, you can work for us. And there would have been a lot of devil's bargaining and that kind of thing, of the type that happens in imperialist contexts all the time, right? So that was likely what would have happened if things had gone in that direction. But it is also just one of many possibilities, because just like you all were playing multifaceted real people, I did my best to try to make this triumvirate, even though we didn't get to engage with them too much directly as NPCs, have multifaceted motivations and contingency plans of their own, right? So what would they do if you weren't interested in that? Or what would they do if the possibility of that didn't work out because of X, Y, or Z thing that you did? How the roles went? There were other things that they were interested in as well.
Makes sense. One of my headcanons for this, like, initially was that because the Rocket Club is really this old, stretches to like before we know stuff, that this alien threat was actually precursors. They've been here before. They are the ones who left the singularity behind. And that's why we were immune, because they are immune to their own weapon. That was my headcanon, at least going into it.
I like that.
And so it's really cool to see what you had planned and how I thought it would go.
Yeah, I will say I let the singularity itself maintain a lot of its mysteriousness in terms of its origins, because I find that a lot of times in this kind of genre storytelling, over-explaining that kind of thing can actually flatten it, and leaving more negative space for people to bring their own interpretations, like the awesome stuff that you just mentioned, makes it a more fulfilling storytelling experience. Again, you all are going to come up with stuff that is better than, or more than, or even just in some cases different than, but no less valid than the stuff that I come up with. I think it's a great thing as collaborators at the table to leave space for that, and also for people watching to leave space for them to be able to bring things in for that too. All right, cool.
Let's talk about Bad Bunny.
I will tell you, it was very fun getting to play, like, not Bad Bunny himself, but an entity that communicates solely in Bad Bunny lyrics, because I had a lot of fun finding those Bad Bunny lyrics, and then I also had a lot of fun figuring out ways to deploy them in ways that were meaningful to the story in the moment, right? Not
Bumblebee
just as a
Bunny.
gag, but also like as a little bit of an emotional poke, right? That was such a fun gift you all gave me.
And you did it so well.
100%.
Like I don't know Spanish, but I could get the gist of some of the stuff. You did it so well.
We couldn't have had, no one else could have done a Bumblebee Bad Bunny as well, I think. Brilliant.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, it was just so much fun. I couldn't have had a better time with that, and overall I couldn't have had a better time with all of you telling this story. So I want to thank all of you for trusting me, for signing up for this, for taking all the risks that you took, for being so safe at the table and supportive of myself and each other, so generous with your creativity and your time. I know that a lot of times we were filming at times, typically we're filming at times that were very late for you all in particular. I'm very, very grateful for that.
It's interesting that, like, one thing I was like, but if there was a thing where, like, they might have ended up offering them, like, the Rocket Club members something further, like, control or something. I don't know how Amara would have reacted, because at that point I just put in, what her next secret was. Fuck, should I reveal that now? Should I, like, should we wait of a season?
I was gonna say, yeah, it's not. It's up to Steve and all of you if you want to come back. But, like, for my part, I'm down to do more in this world, and where we left things, there's room for it, right? Because you all did fully succeed, right? Like, you succeeded on all fronts in a way that would only ensconce you all further as trusted individuals in the Rocket Club.
So then I think then we'll change it. So if we ever do get up to a second season, but Amara's new, like, the confession was that she thinks that she would actually make a better adult than a child. Was what I had written down for that one. I don't know if that's an actual confession or if that's a thing of all children, like, at some level, like, because of just the nature of childhood. But then, and you think that you might actually falsely think you might be better at being an adult. And as always, I think it's just one of the worst, I think, single most largest problems of human beings is that we can't live in the moment. Like, we always are pressured or pointed by some pressure from expectation of
deeply
from the past and
relatable.
of the future. Yeah.
So I found the notes during my second playtest where I came up with what I then referred to as the triumvirate of the void. That was the basis for the initial pitch I brought to you, Steve, for Fractured Sky. I pulled the 6 of hearts, 4 of diamonds, king of clubs, queen of clubs, 5 of clubs, red joker, ace of clubs, 3 of spades, and 4 of clubs in that order. So the alien creatures from all that were defined as horrifying devourers, raging voids with impossible geometries, here to colonize Earth. Their ship being imposing and hidden from sight, disguised to appear as though it's always in motion, when in reality it's as large as the full range of space across which it appears to move. Its captaincy shared among the triumvirate of entities which were an entitled authority, steady, reliable, fundamental, indispensable, and so pervasive that they can go unnoticed the way air can until it is gone and we are left gasping for its return. A visionary emissary moving within a world of strangers in search of connection, pawns to control, and something beyond human comprehension, infiltrating our world, watching us, and either forging relationships or tricking us into thinking they are for reasons we cannot understand. And a beautiful, dignified witch, powerful, fearsome, and empathic, knows their worth and their place in existence, commands the minds and emotions of those around them, among their own kind, other than the triumvirate, and those they colonize. They arrive with blatant terror and destruction, followed by a facade of diplomacy. They want to subsume our world into their collective. They are dangerous because they are so far beyond us in terms of evolved capabilities to engage with reality. They will spread terror across the town and drive at least some of its people to question what they had previously understood to be the nature of reality. So that's where it started.
Holy shit! And that's all of this is provided for in the
no. Yes and no, right?
Okay.
So there's elements in there like horrifying devourer is a match of a couple of things I pulled, right? For example, or like the impossible geometries, is on one of those things. The combination comes from the use of that. Some of what I just said is interpretation of those things in relationship with each other and answering of the questions that are in the tool itself. So I'll say none of it would exist without the tool. Some of it embellishes upon the tool, right? But in a way that I think the tool is designed to use. And it also speaks to me as an individual, what stories I have been exposed to, what I am creatively interested in, how these prompts, because when you're using Oracle systems at all, when you're doing card readings, the cards are reading you, right? Is the thing about that. So ultimately, a lot of what I just said reflects my psychology and my creative expression and my creative experience, not just as a person creating, but as a person engaging with the creations of other people, what creations have influenced me the most. So somebody else could have gotten the same exact pull that I did and taken it in a vastly different direction, right? It'd be mathematically difficult to get the exact pull I got, but it's not impossible, right? And I will say the landing on the void mall, right, specifically was something that I came up with as a way to try to have this be something that I felt would be relatable to middle school age characters, right? Like, what does it mean for them to lose something and not necessarily have to make it like their home, right? But something that feels kind of like home to them potentially, and that is important to them culturally. And that's a little bit of my own bias coming in, because at the time that I grew up, and where I grew up, I spent a lot of time wandering around in malls when I was, in middle school, because that was where we could hang out a lot of the time, right? So that's part of where that came from too.
Had free aircon.
What was that?
Had free aircon.
That's a bit. I mean, living. So not something I keep private. I grew up in Miami. Not that is a very important part of it, right? Like it's hot all the time. So yeah, the air conditioning was a big thing. It was also just somewhere where we could be with our friends and feel kind of free, so it's fairly unsupervised, potentially not for everybody, but in a lot of cases, without, and there weren't a lot of unregulated spaces where we could do that, right? But yeah, that was the Alien Threat Maker pull that I had. I'm really glad I got to share that with you all in detail, because it was cool to have, and because it is like kind of, if not the only part, one of the very few parts of this that are more siloed for the guide. It also feels a little bit lonely. It's like, no, but I want to share. Like I want to be able to, I want people to know. So thanks for asking about that. Anyway, thanks for a wonderful talkback. I've really enjoyed this. If you all watching this have any further questions about the game, about our specific expression of the game through this story, or have any thoughts on what you'd like to see if we did do a season 2, right? Feel free to get in the comments. Any of you are in the Discord, mention the Discord, reach out to at least me. I don't want to volunteer on behalf of everybody, but I'm happy to hear from people on my side. Any feedback that you have, any thoughts that you have, any things that you'd love to see in the future, questions, I'm available. I'm excited. I'm a big fan of this game. I'm a big fan of Hubbard, who authored this game, who's a friend, for full disclosure, but who I also think is an incredible artist, who's made a beautiful game that I highly recommend. Check it out. And I don't know, do we want to do plugs now, Steve?
Sure, yeah. Hit me up if you want some weed. That's the plug. No? Isn't that what a plug does?
See, it's illegal in this country. You can't say that.
A plug.
Bro, I've been like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, I've been simply smoking my paprika and oregano this whole time. Like, how
I don't listen. I don't even know what that word is. I've never heard of that in my life.
No, listen, all you have to do is paint it orange and then everything is legal.
Bad boy. Hey, this will come under current events and all.
Danny, I'll explain context after recording.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. I appreciate that. In the meantime, let's do our outros. I'm gonna go to Steve the Plug first. Steve.
Hello, hi, it is I, Steve the Plug. The plug does not mean my hair plugs. No, how dare you?
If you're the PP man, Steve, if you're the PP man and you're the plug, does that make you the PP plug?
Don't talk about Steve's plugs.
Sure.
Don't talk about Steve's plugs, please.
That's for the Only Pants. We'll save that for the Only Pants. Anyway, hi, I'm Steve, also known as Sassy Pants. I run Pantsless Tables and I do other things. If you like watching people play mediocre Deadlock, hit me up or come watch my streams. I do the thing. Pantsless Tables is also in the middle of our biggest Pride fundraiser yet. There's a bunch of shit happening. A big announcement coming in the next 24 hours. Well, by the time this video comes out, the announcement will already be out. So you should be in the loop for that. But we're doing Pride on a much bigger scale, where we're running games throughout the weekends in May and June, all fundraising for the same cause, which is Trevor Project, and a secret second thing, which is technically secret 5 things, which will be which you all should know about by now. But fuck it. Yeah, that's what we're doing, and we're very excited about that stuff. We've also got 5 one-shots, one of which Danny is running for Pride that by this time this video comes out will be full and booked. Because yes, I will do that in time. And yeah, that's me. I'm gonna pass it over to Assis.
Oh, that's me. Hi. My name is Assis. My pronoun is she and her. You can find me everywhere on the internet as lesbianing. That's yearning with a lesb in front of it. And yeah, catch me on Pantsless Tables doing. I'm in Dark Waters. We do that on Fridays and stuff. My video game talk show, Unskippable Cutscene, with my friend Tan, alternate Sundays. By the time you're seeing this, we have actual audio version podcast out now. You can find us on podcast app of your choice, talking about video games. How cool is that? Probably very lame. And yeah, there's other interesting stuff happening. I have a bunch of shows, I think, that are coming up in the months after this releases. I have also, I mean, if you haven't seen God Killer Kismet yet, what are you doing? We've been nominated for WebFest. We're winning WebFest awards. Go watch God Killer Kismet. You want to be the person who's seen it before it became too cool. Um, and yeah, he, Adi.
Hello, people of the internet. I've been Adi MK. Fab, he, him pronouns. You can find me at Adi MK on Blue Sky and on YouTube. And you can find me at Manyface Plays on Twitch as well, which is what I'll be plugging because we have a couple of games left where we are running games which with Danny, this amazing person right here, and we are going to be correct me if I'm wrong, we're still working to raise money for Doctors Without Borders, Medicine Sans Frontier, right? Yes, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
And
throughout May.
And we're working with amazing people who are trying to facilitate that. Come watch and hey, I mean, do what the government can't and actually help people, because that shouldn't be our responsibility. But hey, reality is as reality. No, it shouldn't. Let's not get into that. Yeah, that's from me. This is a blast. I'm total kudos and call out all love to Hubbard for making this amazing system and making all of this fantastic art. This crazy person did some 37 pieces of art for all of the tables,
all the character art,
and they all look fantastic. So
amazing.
all kudos. Yeah, that's me. Take it away, Danny.
Thank you. I'm Danny Mendoza, he, him, Danny R. Mendoza all over the internet. You can find me on any platform basically under Danny R. Mendoza, but Blue Sky is good for following for updates on all the stuff that I'm doing. And I do a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to get into most of it. Just follow my socials. What I will say is Rocket Club, a multi-stage anthology, is wrapping up this month. On May 23rd, we have a simulcast live panel for a couple of hours, so not too long after this, just a few days after this first drops. You can come see that. Steve's going to include a message. Aziz is going to be on the panel. Representatives of all of the games that are a part of this are going to be on the panel. M's going to be on the panel. I'm going to be moderating. So if you want to hear more about this overall project and retrospective on the playtest process from M's perspective, tune in for that. That's going to be at noon Eastern U.S. time. So I'm really excited for that. We have a lot of stuff coming up for Pride. I'm lucky enough to be in the way we were here at Pantsless Tables, where we're already raising money for the Trevor Project. So please, if you can, donate there. That's a phenomenal cause. As Adi mentioned, over at Manyface Plays, we are raising money with Just the Human and Charity TRPGs for Doctors Without Borders, with a focus on Palestinian aid throughout the month of May. At the time that this posts, we will 2 days later be part of a 24-hour streamathon that Jess is spearheading. That is going to include a game on May 21st at 2:30 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. That is of Pasión de las Pasiones, Mass Effect edition. So I'm writing a Mass Effect playset for the game for us to be able to run in that 3-hour live stream as a part of a 24-hour raid-a-thon. So check that out if you're available. If not, please feel free to still support Doctors Without Borders. Our Tiltify will be up for that. I'm also going to be raising money for the same cause a little earlier than this runs. But if you want to look back at what we did for that over at Streaming Rainbow, where I'm a member of the staff, I will have done, by the time you watch this, on May 16th, a level 20 D&D game with a deck of many things and a bunch of broken characters, because I then get to bring out like CR 30 creatures and stuff. Yeah, exactly. For a good cause. So that was fun. If it went well, which hopefully it did, we may do more of it moving forward. Also, a bunch of stuff for Pride on these channels and more. So just follow my socials and you'll see more. In the interim, thanks so much for watching this. We're grateful for you. We hope you're doing well. We'll see you soon.